order quantity is fundamental to inventory management. We have also talked about this remarkable property that the EOQ, the economic order quantity, is insensitive to demand realizations. Let me illustrate this point using this Excel spreadsheet. We are going to also review how to do data table to do sensitivity study. So this is the basic EOQ model. My demand is 1,200 units per year. Holding cost is $3 per unit per year, and ordering cost, fixed cost, is $28 per order. So here I set up, whichever quantity you can put in there. Although I made a formula to show you the EOQ is actually 150 according to the formula. Okay, you can click through and see the formula. Now we need to compute in order to get all the costs. How many orders there are in a year, and per year basis, what's the ordering cost, and what's the average inventory, and also the average holding cost. So everything is formula based, and adding up average inventory cost and holding cost, we have total average cost. And here I made all the Q's, okay, so the order size, and I calculated all the average cost and the ordering cost and holding cost, the two components. This is a formula, link back to the model, and I select the table and go to data, what if analysis, data table, and cell input. This is a Q, which goes back to our model, order quantity. I click B7, and let's see. So this is this curve is total cost, and its two components are average inventory cost and holding cost. Now let me show you how insensitive it is. There are two ways I'll show you. First of all, let's just suppose we already know that 150 is the true EOQ, and let me plug in 150, and indeed it shows you our cost is $449, so around here, so it's $449, right? And if we order double that, 200, 300 actually, we show that our cost is $2,562. Now I'm going to do a quick calculation. 562 over 449, I think that's the cost of true EOQ. The cost, increase is about 25%, and yet we saw here we decide to order double that amount from 150 to 300. So that's a dramatic jump in order quantity, but the resulting cost is only 25% increase. So that tells us that the total cost is quite insensitive. You can see on look at here, 150 is the true EOQ, but if you decide to order 300 here, your cost increase is relatively slow. So this 25% increase is associated with 100% increase in order quantity. So that tells us that it is quite insensitive. Another way, or more rigorous way, is actually to do a full-blown sensitivity study. So here I have the same cost structure and EOQ, and this is my true minimum cost if I adopt a EOQ. Here, imagine you have two managers. One is perpetually, let's call him or her pessimist. Okay, so the pessimistic manager always order half of the EOQ, assume that the demand is only 50% lower. So here, if demand is 50% lower, he or she would order 106. Okay, and let's call the other opposite, the optimistic manager always assume demand is twice as much. So his or her EOQ would be 212. So this is just plugging in the EOQ formula with different demand realization. Now, let's also assume the true demand can vary. Here I set up, say, from as low as 450 to as high as 1800. Of course, you can do other quantities, but let's see what it means here. So if demand is 450, the real EOQ rate should be 91.7 and the cost should be 274. Now, the pessimistic manager would order 106. Okay, now what's his or her cost? Well, we can just plug in the cost formulation and get, again, this is assuming that the manager was always order 106 and but the true demand turns out to be 450. So this is the cost for the pessimistic manager, and this is the cost for the optimistic manager. So the ratio in between them is 36%. Right off the bat, you can see that actually this is relatively insensitive because demand is already varied quite a bit and the cost ratio is only 36. But I'm not done yet. So if you look at the cost increase compared to the true optimal, which is 91.7, so you can see that the pessimistic manager only increased his or her cost by 1%, even though he or she decided to deviate quite a bit from the true order quantity. So now this is the cost increase with the optimistic manager. Okay, so as demand realization increases, you can see that here, this column, the pessimistic manager actually doing quite well. His or her demand cost increase vary between 0% and an increase by 15%. But our demand realization, you can see this is a fourfold change. Okay. Similarly, you can observe that for the what we call optimistic manager, the relative cost increase is much lower compared to the demand fluctuations. So I hope this spreadsheet and this sensitivity illustrate this important point in